The unknown signal, the darkness of space, was silent. The Empire's border fleet drifted near the edge of known territory, scanning for smugglers and pirates. It was supposed to be another boring patrol. Another night of nothing. But then the signal came. It was faint at first, like a whisper in the void. One officer frowned as strange numbers scrolled across his screen. "Captain, I think we have detected something massive," he said nervously. The captain raised an eyebrow. "Massive? How massive?" The officer swallowed. "Sir, bigger than any battleship in the registry." Alarms began to ring softly. The fleet's computers struggled to process the energy readings. The data was unstable, like something ancient and powerful had just woken up. The captain ordered all ships to turn sensors to maximum. Moments later, a shape appeared on the holo display. Not clear, not fully visible, but enormous. A shadow in the void. The officers whispered among themselves. "It looks like a warship." No, impossible. No one builds ships this large anymore. Maybe it's a moon fragment? But the readings did not lie. It was moving slowly, steadily, like a beast stretching after centuries of sleep. The captain reported to High Command within hours. The news reached the Empire's High Council. Alien leaders sat in a golden chamber, arguing loudly. Some said it was just debris. Others said it was an ancient weapon lost from a forgotten war. But one elder, his voice cold and fearful, said the words no one wanted to hear. "What if it belongs to the humans?" The room fell into silence. For centuries, the Empire had laughed at humans. They called them weak, primitive, easy to conquer. Humanity had been pushed to the edges of the galaxy, surviving in shadows, but now, this signal, this shadow, was shaking even the proud Empire. Back at the border fleet, panic was spreading. The mysterious ship was still far away, yet its energy field was so strong that smaller vessels' shields flickered. One pilot gasped, "If it comes closer, our ships might fall apart just from the pressure." The captain clenched his fists. No ship should be this powerful. Then, the shadow flickered again for a brief moment. The sensors caught something strange. Letters carved on the hull. They were ancient, burned, and scarred. But still visible, the word Terra. The officers froze. Everyone knew that word. It was the old name of Earth. The human homeworld. Whispers filled the bridge. It can't be. This has to be a trick. Humans cannot build something like this, but deep inside, they all felt the same fear crawling in their hearts. What if the humans had been hiding their true strength all along? The council demanded more proof. They sent in 3 scout ships to approach the shadow. As the scouts moved closer, the strange ship system seemed to awaken. Lights flickered across its hull, glowing like the eyes of a predator. The scouts transmitted images back to the council, and every leader who saw those images leaned back in silence. The ship was real, not debris, not a moon fragment. It was a warship, larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The council began to argue again. Impossible. This must be a relic from another civilization. No relic has weapons active after so long. But if it belongs to humans, then we are all in danger. Meanwhile, the mysterious warship remained quiet. It did not fire, it did not move faster. It simply drifted closer, like it was testing them, like it was waiting. One young alien officer stared at the screen, his voice trembling. "If that's a human warship, we are finished." His words spread through the fleet like poison. Veterans who had fought in many battles felt cold for the first time. The Empire had feared rebellions, pirates and rival empires before, but this was different. This was the unknown. And the unknown carried the name of humanity. On a distant outpost, a forgotten archive keeper woke up an old file. It spoke of a project once whispered about, a Titan-class battleship, a ship so powerful it could destroy entire armadas alone. The file had one note at the end, written by a human general long ago. "If they come for us again, we will not hide. We will remind them who we are." The council tried to bury the fear, but the shadow kept coming, slowly, steadily. Like a storm on the horizon, the Empire had always believed humans were weak. But now, for the first time in centuries, they were afraid, truly afraid, because deep down, every leader in that chamber knew the truth. That ship could only belong to humans. The first glimpse of the Titan, the border fleet, hung in silence. Every officer stared at the glowing shadow drifting closer. No one wanted to speak first, because every word carried fear. Finally, the captain broke the silence. "Transmit a scan," he ordered. His voice shaking, the sensor officer obeyed, sending beams of light toward the unknown ship. For a moment, the massive shadow vanished into static, then slowly, the ship revealed itself piece by piece on the holo display. The bridge went quiet, a collective breath caught in their throats. It was not a fragment of rock, not a relic, not debris. It was something alive with power. Its armored hull stretched longer than entire cities. Its sides bristled with strange weapon mounts. Some looked like cannons, others like glowing towers that bent light itself. An officer whispered, "I have never seen this design in any archive." Another muttered, "This is beyond our technology." Who built this? The holo display zoomed closer, showing scorched metal and deep scars along its surface. It looked ancient but not broken, more like a predator with battle marks, a beast that had survived countless fights. Then they saw it, faded letters carved into the armor. The symbol of a forgotten language. The bridge froze as the translator worked, and then the word appeared in their own tongue. Terra, the captain's hand trembled. He whispered without meaning to, "Terra, Earth." The word was forbidden in many places of the Empire. Humans were considered weak, unworthy, their history erased from schools. Yet here was proof that humanity had built something that dwarfed even the Empire's greatest flagships. The officers looked at one another, searching for comfort, but no comfort came, only fear. Back at the High Council, the scouts' images appeared on a giant crystal screen. Hundreds of alien leaders leaned forward, jaws tightening. They had expected a mistake, a false reading. But what they saw was worse than their nightmares. The Titan-class ship was real. Its scale was almost beyond belief. Even the Empire's largest dreadnoughts looked like insects in comparison. A counselor shouted, "This must be a trick. No single race could build such a monster." Another snapped, "It cannot be human. They live in ruins and colonies. They are too weak." But an old general raised his voice, calm but cold. "We said they were weak when they survived our conquests. We said they were weak when they rebuilt in the shadows. We may be wrong. That ship is proof." Back at the border fleet, the 3 scout ships moved even closer, their pilots shaking as the Titan's hull came into clear view. Strange lights pulsed beneath its surface, almost like the ship was breathing. The pilots reported in hushed tones, It's like the ship is alive." Another pilot added, "I think it's watching us." Suddenly, one of the scouts lost control. Its systems flickered and died. Drifting helplessly, no weapon had fired, no strike had landed. Yet the Titan's presence alone had shut the ship down. The surviving scouts panicked, pulling back quickly, their voices filled with terror. "We can't stay near it. Its energy field is overwhelming everything we have." On the bridge of the Empire's fleet, the captain clenched his fists. He wanted to order an attack, but fear held him back. He knew, deep in his heart, that firing on that ship would mean instant death. Instead, he ordered all ships to retreat to a safe distance. But safe distance was an illusion. The Titan's aura reached across the void, pressing against their hulls as if reminding them of their weakness. The council chambers filled with chaos. Some leaders demanded immediate destruction of the Titan before it could move further. Others urged caution, afraid to provoke what they did not understand. But again, the old general spoke, "Do you not see? The ship has not attacked us. It could have destroyed the scouts, the fleet, all of us. But it did not. It waits. It waits for something or someone." That silence chilled the chamber, because everyone knew what he meant. If this was a human warship, then it was waiting for its masters. And if humans truly returned to the galaxy with such power, the balance of everything would change. Back in the fleet, the captain stood alone in his quarters. He replayed the image of the ship. The letters burned into his mind. Terra. He remembered the old stories, how humans had once been underestimated, how they had fought against impossible odds, and now it seemed they had built a weapon to remind the galaxy of their strength. The captain whispered to himself, "It can't be a human warship, or can it?" Outside, the Titan drifted silently, its lights flickering, its cannons cold but ready. It was like a predator crouched in the dark, watching, waiting, and every heart in the fleet and council felt the same truth. The galaxy would never be the same again. The Empire's mistake. The Empire had always believed in one thing: numbers win wars. If one enemy ship appeared, they would send 10. If 10 appeared, they would send 100. It was the way of the Empire, and it had worked for centuries. So when the council received news about the Titan, they reacted the same way. Fear twisted their words, but arrogance guided their actions. "Send a fleet," one counselor barked. "Destroy it before it reaches our territory," shouted another. The Emperor himself sat in silence for a long moment. His eyes hard, finally he spoke. "Send 20 ships. Remind the galaxy of our strength." 20 warships departed, engines blazing. They were sleek, deadly vessels with cannons that had shattered many enemies before. Their crews laughed nervously, trying to hide their unease. "It's just one ship," they told themselves. "No matter how big it looks, it's still one ship." But the shadow of the Titan waited for them. It did not move faster, did not show fear. It simply drifted, its hull glowing faintly with strange lights, like a giant eye staring at insects crawling toward it. When the 20 warships arrived, they spread out, forming a circle. Their commanders were confident. "Box it in," they ordered. "Fire all weapons. Overwhelm it." The order was given. Hundreds of beams of energy, plasma bolts and missiles shot through the void. The sky lit up with fury, the void thundered with fire. The Titan was drowned in explosions. The fleet cheered, thinking it was over, but then the smoke cleared and the Titan was still there. Not a scratch, not a dent, its armor glowed faintly, its shields shimmering like a living storm. The Empire's weapons had meant nothing. A silence fell across every bridge. Then came the first sound. Low, deep, terrifying, a hum that shook every ship. It was the Titan's awakening. Panels across its hull lit up in blue and white fire. Cannons unfolded like wings of a giant beast, and then it fired one blast, just one. A single beam of light erupted from its side. It cut through space like a blade through water, and 3 Empire warships vanished instantly. No wreckage, no survivors, only silence. Panic erupted across the fleet. "Retreat! Retreat!" shouted one commander. But their signals were drowned out by more blasts. The Titan's weapons unleashed fury. Every shot destroyed a ship. It didn't miss, it didn't hesitate. It was like a predator swatting flies in minutes. The Empire's proud fleet was reduced to scraps. Flames drifted across the void where ships once stood. The survivors screamed into their comms. "It's unstoppable. It's not a ship, it's death itself." One scout barely escaped, its engines burning. The pilot's hands shook as he transmitted his final report to the council. 20 ships destroyed. By one, I repeat, by one. When the council received the message, silence filled the golden chamber. Leaders stared at one another, their faces pale. One counselor slammed his fist on the table. "This was only 20 ships. We must send 200 next time." Another hissed, "Are you blind?" The monster erased them like dust. 200 will only die faster." The Emperor rose slowly, his voice heavy. "We made a mistake," he said. "We thought it was just a shadow, just one ship to crush, but now we know the truth. It is a Titan." Back at the wreckage site, the Titan floated silently, its cannons folded back into place. Its lights dimmed again like nothing had happened. It did not chase the survivors. It did not roar with victory, it only drifted. Patient, calm, terrifying. On the Empire's border stations, whispers spread like fire. The soldiers no longer laughed at humans. They no longer called them weak. Now they spoke in hushed voices. If that's human technology, then we are doomed. Maybe it's just one ship? No. No ship fights like that alone. There must be more. The fear reached the common people too. Merchants refused to travel near the border. Colonies asked for protection, and everywhere. One question was asked again and again. Why would humans build such a monster? In secret, an old archive was opened by the Council's spies. It spoke of a forgotten project. Titan-class warships, built not for conquest, not for glory, but for survival. The last words written in the file were simple. One ship will protect a planet. A fleet will protect humanity forever. The Council stared at those words in dread, because if this was only one ship, and if more existed, the Empire's reign might be over. In his chamber, the Emperor closed his eyes. He remembered how the Empire had mocked humans, how they had crushed their colonies, enslaved their people, erased their history. Now he wondered if that cruelty had forged something even stronger, something that no fleet could stop. The Empire had made a mistake, and it was a mistake they might not survive. Far away in the dark void, the Titan turned slightly, its hull glowing faintly again, almost as if it had heard their fear, almost as if it was smiling. The galaxy had changed, and the Empire knew it too late. Human awakening. The wreckage of 20 warships still burned in the void. Broken engines drifted like fireflies in endless darkness. For the first time in centuries, the Empire had tasted fear, but the Titan was silent. It did not chase the survivors, it did not roar in victory. It only drifted through space, calm, patient, like a hunter that had proven its dominance. Inside the council chambers, chaos exploded. "We must destroy it before it reaches our borders," shouted one counselor. Another trembled. "How?" 20 ships were nothing to it. It killed them as if they were insects. The Emperor's face was pale, his voice heavy. "We cannot let panic spread. Hide this report. The people must not know," but it was already too late. Soldiers whispered in garrisons, merchants carried rumors, and the people of the Empire spoke the word no one had dared to say aloud for centuries. Humans. Back in the dark, aboard the Titan, something stirred. For centuries the ship had waited, silent, sleeping, its great cannons cold, its AI half-dreaming, but the attack had woken it. Now its systems hummed like a beating heart. Energy surged through its veins. Lights flickered across the hull like stars awakening. Deep inside the ship, a single pod opened. Hissing steam poured out. And a man stepped forward, his hair gray, his body scarred from old wars. He wore no crown, no uniform of power. But his presence carried weight. This was not a soldier of the Empire, this was a human. His voice echoed through the Titan's corridors. "Status report," he said calmly. The ship's AI responded with a voice like thunder and silk. "Systems restored. Enemy fleet destroyed. Awaiting command, Captain." The human narrowed his eyes. "How long have I slept?" The AI paused. 267 years. The man's jaw tightened. More than 2 centuries had passed since humanity had built the Titan. It was supposed to be a last resort, a guardian in the dark. But something had gone wrong, and now he was awake in a galaxy ruled by those who had once called his people weak. He walked to the command deck. The stars stretched before him. And on his display he saw fragments of enemy transmissions, alien voices filled with fear, whispering about the monster ship, whispering about humans. The captain let out a low breath. "They remember us," he muttered. Then his eyes hardened. "Good. Let them remember." Back in the Empire's council, panic spread with every report. Survivors described a ship that could not be scratched, a ship that destroyed fleets with casual fire. And now some reports mentioned something worse. A voice had been heard, a human voice, calm and commanding, transmitted in broken echoes. The counselors argued louder than ever. "It cannot be true. Humans are extinct." "No, they live." "They live, and they waited for this moment. If more ships like this exist, the Empire is finished." The Emperor slammed his fist. "Silence! One ship does not end an empire. We will crush them as we always have." But even as he spoke, doubt poisoned his words, because deep inside, he too had heard the rumors that humans never truly died, that in the darkest corners of the galaxy they rebuilt, and perhaps they had been waiting for revenge on the Titan. The AI displayed a map of the stars. Dozens of red markers showed the Empire's borders, colonies, fleets, worlds that had once belonged to humanity before the conquest. The captain stared at them in silence. His hand clenched into a fist, then he spoke softly. "They took everything from us. Now it's time to take it back." The Titan's AI responded. "Shall I prepare the weapons, Captain?" But the man shook his head slowly. "No, not yet. First we must send a message." The Titan's comm systems lit up. For the first time in centuries, a human voice carried across the stars. It was calm, steady, terrifying. "To the Empire, you thought we were gone. You thought wrong. We are humanity. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Leave our borders, or vanish." The message reached the Empire's border stations within minutes. Soldiers froze as the words echoed in their ears. The same words spread through colonies, ships, and finally the council itself. Silence fell across the chamber. No one moved, no one breathed, because they all understood. The humans had awakened, and they were no longer the weak race the Empire had mocked. They were something else now, something stronger, sharper, unyielding. The Emperor's face turned pale. He whispered the words no one had expected him to say. "We may have made a mistake, one we cannot undo." Meanwhile, the Titan turned its great hull toward the stars. Engines roared to life, its cannons hummed with restrained power. And at its heart stood a single human captain. his eyes fixed on the galaxy that had once enslaved his people. His voice cold as iron. They wanted to erase us. Now we will remind them who we are. Now we will remind them who we are. The human had awakened and the galaxy would never be the same again. Empire strikes back. The message from the Titan spread like fire. Across border stations, across colonies. Across the heart of the Empire itself, humans had spoken. And the words were simple. Leave or vanish. The council panicked. Merchants demanded protection. Soldiers whispered about old legends, and ordinary citizens looked to the skies with fear. The Empire had ruled for centuries without challenge. But now one word was on every tongue. Humanity. The Emperor could not allow fear to spread further. He summoned his admirals, his generals, his best strategists. In a hall of steel and gold he spoke with fury. This ship is nothing. A ghost from the past. We will erase it, and with it the name of humanity once more. The admirals bowed. But their eyes were uncertain. Still, the orders were given. Not 20 ships this time, not even 100. The Empire launched an armada of 300 warships. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, dreadnoughts, all sent to crush the Titan. It was the largest fleet gathered in centuries, enough to darken the stars. The galaxy watched in silence. Rival empires leaned forward in secret. Smugglers and pirates stopped their trade. Even peaceful worlds tuned their comms. Everyone wanted to see. Would the Empire triumph? Or would the legend of the human Titan grow? The Titan floated alone in the void. Its captain stood on the command deck, calm, steady. The AI whispered to him, "Enemy fleet detected. 300 ships. Time to impact. 2 hours." The human captain did not flinch. He ran his hand along the cold metal railing. 300, he murmured. Once, that number would have ended us. But now, he looked at the stars with hard eyes. Now it's not enough. The armada arrived like a storm. Hundreds of ships forming a wall of firepower. Their engines burned bright. Their weapons charged from a distance. It looked as if the entire sky had been set ablaze. The Empire's lead admiral gave the order. "All ships, prepare for full assault. We strike together. Overwhelm it." The Titan's sensors lit up with targets. The AI asked, "Do we hold position, Captain?" The human smiled faintly. "No. We show them what humanity has become. Advance." Engines roared, and the Titan moved forward. It glided like a giant beast through the stars. Every alien eye watching trembled for the first time. They realized it was not a shadow, it was a predator. The battle began. The Empire unleashed a storm of weapons. Missiles streaked across the void. Plasma beams cut the dark. Hundreds of explosions tore at the Titan. The stars themselves seemed to vanish in the fire. But when the light cleared, the Titan still stood. Its shields shimmered like an ocean, bending every attack. Its hull glowed faintly, unharmed, unbroken. The human captain raised his hand. "Now," he commanded. The Titan answered, its cannons unfolded. Energy surged through its veins, and then light. Beams brighter than suns erupted across the battlefield. One shot erased an entire squadron. Another tore through a dreadnought as if it were paper. Gravity weapons rippled through space, crushing ships into metal dust. The Empire's armada panicked. "Impossible!" cried one commander. "We outnumber it 100 to 1. But numbers meant nothing. The Titan's weapons were too powerful, too precise, too merciless. Minutes felt like hours. Every strike from the Titan destroyed more ships. Carriers exploded, destroyers broke apart. The once mighty armada was reduced to burning wreckage. 300 ships gone in the council chamber. Leaders trembled as reports came in. 100 ships lost, then 200. Finally the last message, armada destroyed. No survivors. Silence filled the Golden Hall. No one dared to speak. The Empire had thrown its might against one human warship, and lost. Utterly back on the Titan, the human captain stood in silence. He watched as debris floated past the windows. The AI spoke softly. "Victory complete. No enemy ships remain." The captain closed his eyes. "This is not victory," he whispered. "This is only the beginning." Across the galaxy, fear spread like wildfire. Alien rulers whispered in secret chambers. If one ship can do this, what if more exist? Could humanity be building a fleet? Are they preparing for war? The Emperor slammed his throne with rage. He shouted at his council, "It's only one ship. We will not bow to ghosts." But inside even he felt it. The cold terror that the galaxy had awakened something far greater than an empire. Back in the void, the Titan drifted silently. Its lights flickered like distant stars, and inside, the human captain whispered to himself, "They thought we were weak. They thought we were gone, now they know the truth. Humanity has returned. The Empire had struck back, and the Empire had lost the human message." The battlefield was silent now. Only broken pieces of the Empire's armada drifted in the cold void. 300 ships, destroyed by one. The stars themselves seemed to whisper the truth. The Empire had been defeated. Inside the Titan, the AI reported calmly, "All enemy vessels eliminated. Systems stable. Weapons cooling." The human captain stood on the deck, staring at the endless field of wreckage, so many lives, so much arrogance, all erased in minutes, but he did not smile. His face was calm, cold, determined. The AI's voice softened. "Captain, enemy communications are wide open. They are broadcasting fear. The entire galaxy is listening." The captain turned slowly. His eyes burned with a fire that had survived centuries. "Then it's time they hear from us." The Titan's comm system awakened, its signal reached across light years, carried on hidden channels. Every station, every ship, every colony within range heard it, the voice of a human, calm, steady, unshaken. "To the Empire and to every world that hears this," the captain said, "you believed humanity was gone, you erased our history. You enslaved our people, you called us weak. But we did not die." The council chamber froze. The Emperor himself leaned forward, his knuckles white on the armrest. The human voice continued, "We endured. We rebuilt in the shadows, and we forged weapons you cannot understand." Gasps filled the chamber. Merchants dropped their cups. Soldiers stared at each other. The human's words carried no anger, no wild fury, only certainty, and that made it more terrifying. The voice grew harder. "You sent fleets to destroy us, we destroyed them instead. You sent hundreds of ships, they lie in ruins. And this was only one of us. Only one." Every corner of the Empire trembled. Because if this was true, if there were more Titans, then no fleet, no army, no world was safe. The captain's final words echoed like thunder. "Humanity is back. Leave our borders, or vanish." The broadcast ended, silence followed. But it was the kind of silence that screamed louder than war. On the Titan's deck, the captain stood tall. The AI asked quietly, "Do you think they will listen, Captain?" The human shook his head. They never listened before. They only learn when it's too late. Back in the council chamber, the debate erupted. Some leaders shouted in denial, "It's a trick, a bluff, no one has such power." Others were pale, whispering in fear, "If one ship can destroy 300, what could a fleet do?" The Emperor slammed his fist. "Lies! There is no human fleet." But even he did not believe his own words. Across the galaxy, ordinary people whispered the message. In alien marketplaces, in mining colonies, in distant stations, parents told their children, "The humans have returned." Some felt fear. Others felt hope, because not all races loved the Empire. Many had suffered under its rule, and to them, the humans were not monsters. They were a spark, a chance, a sign that the Empire could fall. In hidden corners of the galaxy, rebellion stirred, whispers became plans, old flags of freedom were raised, and everywhere, the human message was repeated, "Leave or vanish." The Emperor sat alone in his chamber that night. His advisors gone, his guards silent. He stared into the darkness and remembered the past. He remembered how the Empire had once mocked the humans, how they had forced them into cages, burned their colonies, erased their songs, and now those same humans had built something that defied all power. He muttered bitterly, One ship brings the Empire to its knees." Meanwhile, in the Titan, the human captain studied star charts, his eyes locked on systems that had once belonged to humanity. World stolen, renamed, filled with alien banners. He traced them with his finger. "We will take them back. One by one," he whispered, "we will rebuild what was stolen." The AI pulsed with light. "Shall I awaken the others, Captain?" The man paused. "Not yet," he said. "Let the galaxy fear the shadow first. Then when the time is right, we will show them the fleet." The Titan drifted silently once more. But now the whole galaxy watched. Every ruler, every soldier, every citizen looked at the stars differently, because they knew somewhere out there, a human warship waited. And maybe, just maybe, there were more. The human message had been sent, and it could not be forgotten. It was not just a warning, it was a promise that humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The fear of the future. The human message echoed long after the signal ended. It traveled across the stars, reaching worlds that had never even seen a human. In every marketplace, in every colony, whispers spread, "Leave our borders, or vanish." The Empire trembled, not from the loss of ships alone, but from something deeper. For the first time in centuries, they faced an enemy they could not understand, an enemy that should have been extinct, but was not in the High Council chamber. Silence hung heavy. The Emperor sat on his golden throne, his face shadowed. Around him, counselors argued in panic. "More fleets! We must build bigger ships!" shouted one. "It won't matter," hissed another. "That thing is unstoppable." "Then negotiate," cried a third. "Offer peace before they unleash more of these titans." The Emperor slammed his hand against the armrest. "Peace? With humans? Never." But his voice cracked, and his words did not carry the power they once did. Even the counselors could hear the fear beneath them. On border stations, soldiers sat in silence. Every time the stars flickered, they thought of the Titan. Some whispered prayers. Others packed their belongings. A commander muttered, "If it returns, none of us will live to tell the story." But fear was not the only thing spreading. In hidden corners of the galaxy, rebellion stirred. Races once crushed by the Empire now saw hope. If humans could defy the mighty Empire, then maybe others could too. Flags of resistance were raised in secret, and the word humanity became a symbol of freedom. Meanwhile, the Titan drifted in the void, silent once more. Inside, the human captain stood at the command deck. The AI reported softly, "Enemy comms are filled with chaos. Fear spreads. They do not know what to do." The captain stared at the star map before him. Red markers filled the display. Worlds stolen by the Empire long ago. Each one once a human colony, each one now enslaved. He traced them with his finger, one by one. "We will take them back," he whispered. The AI's voice pulsed like a heartbeat. "Shall I activate the fleet, Captain?" The man was silent for a long moment, his eyes cold, his voice steady. "Not yet. Let the galaxy fear the shadow first. The fear will prepare the way." Back in the council, the debate raged on. Some wanted surrender, some wanted war, but none could ignore the truth. If there was one Titan, there could be more, and if there was a fleet, the Empire would not survive. The Emperor rose slowly, his voice grim. "Prepare for war. Double production. Triple the fleets. We will not kneel to ghosts." But even as he spoke, he felt the weight of dread pressing on his chest, because deep inside, he knew these were not ghosts, they were humans. And humans did not forgive. Humans did not forget. Across the galaxy, ordinary people looked up at the stars with new eyes. Some feared the coming storm. Others prayed for it. But all agreed on one thing. The future belonged to the humans. In the darkness of space, far from the wreckage of battles, massive shipyards stirred to life. Hidden deep in forgotten star systems, dozens of colossal frames floated half-complete. Titan-class warships under construction, their engines silent, their cannons waiting. Workers moved like ants across the enormous hulls, each one carrying the name of an old human world. Each one a promise that humanity would rise again. On the command deck of the first Titan, the captain watched in silence. Through a hidden feed, he saw the shipyards. His lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "They think this is the end," he whispered. "But it is only the beginning," the AI hummed quietly. "The galaxy is afraid, Captain. The Empire trembles. The rebels whisper your name. What comes next?" The captain turned toward the stars. His eyes burned with unshaken resolve. "What comes next?" he said softly. "The future. And the future belongs to humanity." Outside, the Titan's lights flickered, its cannons glowed faintly, and far away in the silent shipyards, the shadows of more Titans waited to awaken. The Empire had feared one warship, but soon they would face a fleet, and when that day came, the galaxy would finally remember why humanity should never have been underestimated. The future had already begun, and it carried the name of Terra.